Hey everyone, Aaron here, and this is Classic Week Review number one, and that is of Gundam. You can't get more classic than Gundam. The original Gundam, Mobile Suit Gundam. So, real fast, not to take away from this review, but Classic Week again is going to be 7 days of classic anime reviews. Uh, I don't know how I'm going to put them in order. I think probably tomorrow will be Outlaw Star, might be Cowboy Bebop, Tenchi Muyo, Trigun, stuff like that. It's not super old anime. I plan on doing that. Like that's gonna be a super classic week probably, but that's probably not gonna be till next year. But yeah, that's what it essentially is. Is again, it's just me reviewing older anime, and I'm reviewing it based off of the time period that it came out on. I'm not gonna review it based on this time period because I think a lot of these anime would do very bad if you review them in the old sense or actually review them in the new sense and you compare them to new stuff nowadays because that's almost not fair. So the will get scores based off of the old stuff. And this is meant to just be more fun. I mean, these are stuff that I watched when I was younger and I thought it'd be kind of fun to relive that. So anyways, yeah. So Gundam, the original Gundam. The classic Gundam, the very first story of a young man who accidentally gets involved in a giant mech war where Allied forces are fighting Xeon for the control of the Earth, and Gundam is the epitome of the original mecha. And I don't mean like there are other mecha that came up before this, of course. Like Gigantor is way back. I think Gigantor is technically the first major robot anime. I think, and but I think Gigantor didn't have as much of a mainstay as Gundam did. Gundam, when it came out, was revolutionary. It created this whole concept of mecha in the West. And I mean, Japan already had Gundam for a little bit, but when the West got Gundam and actually started airing it, it became something that I think just changed the game of anime. It changed the face of it. So, what was cool about Gundam, and I want to kind of do with these reviews. I don't want to talk more so about the plots and all that because a lot of these plots are known. I mean, you know about Amuro Ray, you know about his kind of whole concept of him wanting to be a pilot and then realizing that he's actually taking other lives in the process of destroying giant robots, and it bends between him being a grown up and realizing that this is war, and him being a young kid realizing that he's piloting a giant suit. And what's cool about Gundam is that it really does a very good job of kind of going into that kind of concept because a lot of people, I think, when they watch anime or, well, I don't even want to say watch anime, but I say in general watch cartoons and stuff, they see a lot of like robots being destroyed and they see a lot of pilots versus pilots, and one side wins, and they forget that sometimes there's a whole different psychological concept you can go with, and Gundam try to hit that where Amuro really quick, like I said, realizes that he's killing other people because they're in these robots. The opposing forces are people. And at first, I think he doesn't realize that, or he doesn't take it to heart because he's still a teenager, he's still young, and he's thrown into this, giant robot. And when he finally realizes that, it creates a mental strain on him that actually almost breaks him. It does break him for a little while in the show, but then he realizes that there's points of growing up and realizing that he's already done a lot in terms of what he's had to do as a soldier, because now he is a soldier, regardless of how old he is. He's committed to what he's done. And I think that's what makes Gundam pretty cool is that a lot of the shows start dealing with that concept. I mean, I think every Gundam deals with that concept at one point or another because that's a staple to Gundam. Is that they always have the younger audiences kind of being the ones that pilot the robots. But Gundam was cool. I mean, it had a lot of cool action sequences. It had space battles that were awesome. It had ground battles that were awesome. It never felt like the main character was always going to win. There was a lot of times where the main character was up against another mobile suit, or he was up against another pilot that was stronger than him. And it was a risk. It had you on your edge of your seat. And I remember when I was a teenager watching this, and I was always on the edge of the seat thinking, oh man, Amuro might lose. And lo and behold, he barely wins, but he loses his arm, and on the robot, he loses his arm or leg, or it comes down to like the nitty gritty where he has to fight with like almost nothing. And I think there's an episode where he has to fight with just the Vulcan cannons, which are the cannons on top of his head, and that's it because he's lost everything else. He ran out of ammo, he ran out of beam swords. And I think that was cool. because I think that was back then when anime was still first getting popular in America. It was cool to watch something like that because again, a lot of shows and especially American shows have it where the hero's gonna win. You always do. And I think Gundam had it where maybe the hero might lose, and it does happen at points like main characters in the show die. And if you were a teenager, you're like, "Oh crap, someone died!" You were almost taken aback by that. So that's why if I had to give Gundam, the original Gundam, a review from an A through an F, I would have to say A minus. And I'm being honest with you. It deserved it back then, and it deserves it now. Actually, if I had to review this on a now scale, A minus. It had amazing visuals. I mean, even now, despite the animations not being as good as some of the Gundam stuff that came out within the last couple of years, it still looks phenomenal. It looks good. It has a lot of crisp animation. It has a lot of fluid motions. Even the still backgrounds are cool. Yeah, okay, it looks a little edgy here and there because of just how old it is. The filters they used, the kind of art style they used on animation back then, but it's still a phenomenal show. It's still one of those shows that I enjoyed highly, and I think most people will too. If you've never watched Gundam, I highly recommend checking out the first one, and then watching the stuff that's come out now because you'll realize, wow, this is where this came from. Holy crap! Anyways, that's it for classic review number one. Again, I don't know what's going to be tomorrow, but I think more so it'd be better just kind of having it as a surprise. But anyways, till our paths cross again in the next review, have a good one, guys. Bye.